Welcome your hosts, Caddy Frank and Aaron Fitzgerald, as they lead discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Well, good day, everybody. We are here at Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution, and I have a stunning human across the table from me. Want to just say your name, friend?
Yes, Sabrina.
That's Sabrina, everybody!
Hi.
So Sabrina is here, and she is going to be chit-chatting with me. I'm going to do a little special thanks to our funders, and then I'm going to ask the key question of the day. But I want to say special thanks to our generous donors and funders, the Patrick A. Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, the Hardenberg Foundation, along with many other foundations and corporates and grants and beautiful people that are out there that help contribute to making this, literally this podcast, this radio show, a thing. A dream come true for Caddy is really what it is. So I'm going to ask Sabrina, what's right with you today?
What's right with me today? There's so much that's right with me that I'm just going to say my health and wellness. I'm feeling good. Nice. Kind of that whole body goodness, which sometimes is around and sometimes isn't.
Yeah. So ask me what's right with me.
What's right with you, Caddy?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for asking, Love Bug. Let's see. What's right with me today? Well, I have been so grateful for the life that I have, the people that are in my life. I have an incredible work crew that I get to work with. Sabrina's now one of our new staff members, and she's going to talk about that. But it's just so, I just am grateful that life is going really well right now. Yeah, I'm just grateful that I get to have my recovery. I'm actually coming up on, I can't remember, I think it's 23 or 24 years. I know that's really ridiculous.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So I come around this time of year and there are other dates and other, things that come around. And so it's like some are sort of good and some are sort of sad, but we just sort of keep moving along. So I invited Sabrina here because she's got a marvelous story. So why don't you give us like the tip of the iceberg on kind of like who you are, where you came from, and then when we go into the next phase, we'll talk about your journey in finding recovery. So who are you and where do you come from?
Yes, great question. I'm Sabrina Mercedes. I'm based in southern Minnesota. And I am an advocate, a wellness advocate, a disruptor, a friend, and I am excited to be in this work again, to be working with people, kind of navigating difficult things. I'd say that's who I am and what I love to do.
What is a disruptor? I like that because I think as a lot of people might hear that and go, ew, but I think it means something actually quite positive, in fact.
What I mean by disrupting is disrupting the stories that have been told about me or at me.
Say a little bit more about how you identify yourself, because I think that might help explain that
Absolutely.
Description.
So I am an indigenous Mexican American, first generation, in this place we call the United States, and I'm a queer single parent, and so I've navigated my identity and the erasure of my identity, and just really trying to cling on to all of that and be able to share it with other people who maybe don't feel connected to their culture or were not brought up close to their culture.
So then that disruptor, where does that fit into this?
I'm kind of one of those people that if I see something not ethical or something that kind of gets under my skin or makes me feel like humanity is being compromised, I say something and I do something, and especially in the Midwest, not growing up here, I did. I graduated from a town in southern Minnesota, but I started my life on the West Coast in really big areas.
Okay. So you had a lot of lived experience with different cultures and different size of cities and things. Yeah.
Yep. And violence was kind of a normal thing that I saw. And so just being brought up in with that lens, I think is very different than coming out to the Midwest and people doing I like to call it the Minnesota passive-aggressive nice.
The white picket fence kind of perspective, like it's all just fine.
Yep.
And they just blink their eyes at you and just don't say anything more.
Correct, yeah.
And we know there is an underbelly in just about every family and every circumstance. You might be affluent and you might be in a tent. Yep. And there's a story everywhere along that trajectory.
Yes, and a challenge.
Yeah,
Lots
and Minnesotans, we don't necessarily like to talk about that.
No, not at all.
And so what you get to do is what I think I'm hearing you say is you get to say, hey, wait a minute. I would like to give you some more information, because sometimes we get misinformation or disinformation or information that absolutely is just dead tootin' wrong, right?
Yep. Correct. Yep. Yeah. So, I would say that disruptor piece really is, when I see an opportunity to connect or to engage people in a way that could be uncomfortable, I do my best not to make people uncomfortable, but I like to joke that, I'm good at making people comfortably uncomfortable.
Well, and I think that falls into the agree to disagree.
Yes. Yep.
And sort of say, you know what you say is not right. It's more like, tell me what you heard, and where and maybe how you heard that, and then I can actually maybe shed a light on that. And that's called a conversation.
Yeah, wow.
I know, a concept. Well, and that's why literally when Sabrina was going to come in and do this, she's like, how do I have to be prepared? What do I have to do? And I said, really, what I want to do is I like having a conversation with someone. And we hit probably 10% of what you think you might talk about, but it's about sort of saying, who is Sabrina and what does she stand for and what's important? And then if we miss something, you're coming back, my friend. That's not a problem.
That's great.
But I think when you say disruptor, we have a visual of a word and I see something different. And what you've been able to do is you've been able to give me a different lens. And that is, I'm a person who's going to say what I have to say is important.
Absolutely.
And so what you say isn't necessarily the truth. It might be your truth, but it certainly might not be mine. So I'm going to disrupt that. I'm going to give you another perspective, another lens on how to see this.
You said it better than I could have.
No, I'm picking your words up, and it's like, I have said this, and I've told you this in class, and I've told you this at work, and I've told you this, and I'll continue to tell you this. I learn from everybody that's around me. And so that's why I wanted you to come in today, because you have a lived experience there's a huge similarity because we struggled with substance use disorder, and then that's about all we have in common, other than the fact that we want to help people.
Yeah.
We want to help people find recovery as they understand it. And I think maybe part of where I sort of see myself identifying with you is that I want to help people understand who they are.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't know who we are, how do we present to the world, right?
Right. And I'm actually in a yoga program called Native Strength Revolution, and this is kind of like I'm in the advanced part now, and we talk a lot about these things. And so, I'm just so excited I feel like I've learned something every single day since I've met you.
Wow. Say the class again that you're in?
Yeah, it's called Native Strength Revolution, and it is Indigenous people from Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and we train to be wellness leaders in our respective communities. And there's actually 4 of us in the state of Minnesota, so that's kind of exciting.
I'm seeing a show.
I know it.
I am seeing a show to have, because we can tap in people
Yes.
This is why, y'all, this is why I love doing what I've had this incredible opportunity to do, is that I get to look at a beautiful human and I get to say, wow, you've got so much. So we'll be back from a break. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. We'll be back with Sabrina in a few. Thank you.
And there's one thing that I've learned through this year of being alone.
So here we are with some bouncy music in our chair. We just kind of get happy when we listen to some music like this. So we're back with Sabrina Mercedes. She works at Minnesota Recovery Connection with us. She is a certified peer recovery specialist. Just recently took the class at Minnesota Recovery Connection that I had the honor, and I did the I Spy on her, folks. She was in class and she had all these amazing things to say, and I'm like, ooh, I think she needs to be part of our working community. And here you are.
Here I am. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
It's really incredible, because once you start taking those steps and really embracing your power, I think doors just, they just swung open.
They did.
It almost hit me, And yeah, the leadership or the Recovery Coach Academy, of course, really just, I will never forget not one of those people. And it really challenged some of the things that I thought. And that's exactly what I was looking for when I was trying to find a training and an organization that is not going to sugarcoat, where we're at and what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that I found you.
No, the many people that have taken my class know that I don't sugarcoat stuff.
No, you don't.
No. And because I think what we were saying earlier, and that is, if people don't understand, then sometimes we get defensive.
Right.
And if we get defensive, then sometimes we can be kind of a poop head.
Yes.
And if we become a poop head, then we can present to the rest of the humans around us that we're not very good people, where in fact it could be as simple as somebody doesn't understand a queer, indigenous, Mexican American. That's a lot of that's who you are, and there's a lot of things around that. So what I'd like you to tell us is kind of like, where did your story start? So you said you were on the West Coast and you kind of came to Minnesota, and somewhere in there life happened and substances became, I call it, the friend of the time, because it was reliable. And then, so give us a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, so I was born to two Mexican immigrants, and my mom took the lead, took care of me. I never really knew my biological father. He ended up being deported back to Mexico at some point in my adulthood. And, there was, living in Southern California, there was a lot. We were in a gang area.
A dicey part of town?
It really was.
Okay.
It really was. We were close to the police station, and when you live close to a police station in a dicey town, like, you're in one of the most unsafe places. But I never really connected it with anything negative. I feel like I had a great childhood, but there was constant substance use happening. And so I feel I kind of started using substances, particularly alcohol, is my downfall.
Yep.
In high school.
Okay.
And it was kind of normalized and encouraged.
Oh, so normalized.
And especially out in the Midwest. By that time, we made it out to southern Minnesota, and, it was like, that was the culture. Like, we went to parties, and we partied with older people, and they were supplying us with whatever we wanted. Yep. And looking back now, I'm like, how did
that happen? And why was that okay?
Right.
That's the question. Why would we say that that's okay? But it is common occurrence.
Absolutely.
Because you're bored sometimes out in the sticks.
Yeah, and there's nothing else to do.
And drinking, theoretically, kind of taking the age out of it, it's legal.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so it's available versus some of the other substances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like even my parents, as well-meaning as they were kind of like, just make sure you don't get caught. And, one of those type, like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just kind of feel like it was normalized. But I would say it got worse after I experienced a sexual assault. And I had joined the military right out of high school. I came back. I was ready to live life and just didn't realize the dangers of people. I'm not going to say it was...
So you went into the military. How
Yes.
long were you there?
So I just did National Guard. So I was there for a summer, and then I came back in like a January.
Okay.
Was home 13 hours, had already an apartment set up. I was ready to get the heck out of my parents' house.
Okay. And the sexual assault happened in the military or when you were at home from?
It was by a fellow military member, but when I returned home.
Okay.
So, yeah, again, and the statistics show, it's usually a sexual assault will happen by someone that you know. And that's, again, just these stories that... I didn't want to report to the police, but I was kind of forced to. And now things are a lot different. We're definitely treating survivors with more autonomy and the ability to make those decisions.
Right.
Whereas back then, I think...
When was this, if you were to put a year on it?
2007.
Okay, so a chunk ago, yeah.
It was a while ago.
That is a different time,
Yes,
and sexual assault, and particularly military, kind of dripping in there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'm a little bit too much of a free spirit, I think, to have stayed in the military so pretty quick. I just did my 4 years and got out and wanted to help people. Thought I wanted to do nursing, and I experienced a lot of racism and just oppression within those structures as well, and kind of saw, being thrown into a room with non-English speaking people saying, can you translate? And I could, but I'm also like, this is a life or death situation. I want to make sure I have the right
tools,
training and, for the patients. And so pretty quickly I transitioned out of that, and I think I just felt really lost. I didn't feel like talk therapy was helpful. Everybody wanted me to do, outpatient program or an inpatient program, and I just...
So I want to dial it back. So in your you were struggling with substance use at this time. So you did the medical stuff. Were you were in alcohol, kind of doing the alcohol thing.
Yep.
And then you got out of the medical thing, and then you're kind of like, now what do I do?
Right. And just kind of, I was raising my daughter. Who, at that time, when I started thinking about, hey, I think I need to reel it back with my drinking, I would say it was pretty early on. I would say that it was when my daughter was born in 2011.
Okay.
But it's taken that long for me to, really find the path that was meant for me. And a lot of that was harm reduction. And that's when I started learning. I actually nerded out about it. I was like...
She nerded out, folks.
I love nerding out about these things. And I'm like, well, why doesn't AA feel right to me? And that's when I learned about who invented AA, where it came from. And yeah, okay, that makes sense as to why I don't feel connected to that.
Yeah, because you have a queer, indigenous Mexican woman who is sitting down in a room with probably a predominantly Caucasian group of individuals talking about, and I'm just laying this out, folks, I'm not judging it, I'm just saying it, talking about a thing that's over 70 plus years old that was developed by an old white guy who wanted to get in recovery, but in that time it was called sobriety. And the only way to do it is just to talk to somebody and talk about who you are and what you are. And who you were and what you were would have been probably the last thing you would have wanted to talk about in that circle of humans.
Exactly. And being, I was in my 20s at that time.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was still figuring out my sexuality. I didn't, come to terms with my sexuality until after my daughter was born.
Right.
So I was a little late bloomer. And, I think, again, it just, I was trying to fit into these stories or these boxes that people wanted me to.
Right.
Settle down, find a good partner and just,
just do the right thing.
Just stop what you're doing. And I wasn't ready. And then I later found out as an adult that I had actually experienced childhood sexual violence. And so I feel like that kind of tied into the drinking, the dating older men, the, just again, my body started to have these reactions, and I couldn't understand them. And then finally, while I was working as a domestic violence advocate, I had some repressed memories come up, and I was wow, again, in my adulthood,
Yeah. Yeah, things kind of come, it takes a while for things to sort of unfold or peel away. That, I use the onion analogy. It's like there's this outside shell that we've got, it's kind of hard and crispy, and then you start peeling it away, and literally it's kind of stinky in there. It's kind of unsure about what's going to happen, and you keep peeling, and there's still stuff in there. And then eventually you can rip it all away and go, oh, and to me, an onion looks like a flower when it's all done.
Absolutely.
And so you began to just sort of like have these unpleasant things unfold. What got you into the domestic abuse kind of community? What was that about?
So that's actually a really fun story. And again, it's been following my intuition and seeing women, seeing queer people that look like me in positions of power. And it was actually a professor that I had taken a gender and women's studies course, and Nicole Engel, and she encouraged me to speak about my experiences at a local university event called Take Back the Night.
Yes, I've heard of those.
Yes,
yeah.
Yep. And so that was back in 2015. And as soon as I did that, it was just a flood of opportunity in sexual and domestic violence prevention. So I love teaching people about, like, hey, how do you recognize unsafe situations? How can you intervene or disrupt, right? That situation. Yep. Keeping yourself safe, as well as, I was training college students on how to recognize sexual aggression at parties at that time.
Wow.
So it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's so to say fun to talk about that.
Right.
But you know what? That's the interesting thing, because when we are engaged and we are in our moment, in our time, in our space, this topic might not be fun, but who you are and what you can bring to the table is amazing. And that's what you did to me in class. I saw this woman come out, and she was talking, and she was saying all these amazing things about her lived experience, which impact who you have become now, but who you didn't know who you were.
Right.
Because we push, and I think it's this classic with individuals that have struggled with trauma, various kinds, and a big A, we call it big T and little t, but they can come out sideways at another time.
Yeah.
Because you encounter somebody, or you have a class, or you just are around people that sort of make something, like you said, when you at a time in your life, your body was reacting to situations, because there's so much that's kept inside. And I'm just looking at a title I have The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, your body knows what's going on, and it takes a while for it to come out.
Yep. And it doesn't forget.
It doesn't forget. No, it doesn't. And you just made my brain just go. So you have now begun to do domestic abuse in conversations. You are coming into harm reduction. What's a snapshot of what harm reduction looked like for you to find your recovery at some point?
So at first, it wasn't until 2020 when I got connected with the Indian Health Board, and it was because I had gotten a DUI.
Oh, well, been there, done that.
That'll encourage you to do some inner work.
Potentially might take a second one like me, but it's okay. It's okay.
We all have our own journey, Caddy.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, darling.
So at that time, I, was just doing things for court. Like, okay, I'm going to just get these things in place. I was not expecting to now, 4 years later, be with the same therapist. Wow. Really digging into the work. And it's she's culturally specific. She's indigenous from the East Coast. She's sex worker friendly. She's LGBT friendly. She's a blessing in so many ways.
Wow.
I'm very grateful for her. And at the same time, I have to constantly go, wow, it took me getting a DUI. And, so through that, Indian Health Board at that time, 2020, we couldn't do anything in person, which was perfect because I live 2 hours away. So
it was sadly, goodly, it was just built perfect for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got connected with 12-step yoga, which we didn't even follow the 12 steps. It was more of just what they called it.
Yeah.
But they accepted all pathways.
Right.
And
it was people with substance use disorder.
Yes.
And that's where the magic is. So
exactly.
Yoga, 12 steps, 12 steps to schmel schnaps.
Yeah.
It's really about, here's a place where people can come together that struggle with something, right?
And so I started to recognize the connection to movement. Instead of talking, I noticed that moving my body did a lot more for me. As I started studying more, I was like, wow, this might be good for other people. And I want to share, with whoever wants to hear about, hey, maybe it's not going to a meeting, once a week or whatever you prefer. It could be that you do a 60-minute yoga session at home from YouTube, all pathways is vital. And so I started studying. I started doing some of my public health reports on it and just really dove into these different options of what else is out there.
Wow.
And so working with my therapist, it's a lot of peeling back shame, undoing shame and feeling shame for being a woman, a mother who has struggled with this, a sexual being. People just really want to shame you for those things.
Yeah.
And so that's what really kind of made me go, no, there's a different way,
Okay.
Maybe abstinence isn't for everyone.
Yeah. So you continue to use alcohol on a more monitored basis, or
what I would do is kind of talk to my therapist, and we would come up with a plan. So if I feel called to drink and I'm out, maybe I have a glass of water in between each drink, and that would start to reduce
the use. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I could tell a difference. Okay, I'm not feeling as crappy the next day,
Imagine that not feeling crappy.
I do not miss that at
not
all.
Not one little darn tootin' bit.
Would not trade it for anything. I like my sleep.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, but once because I had a therapist, a professional that was encouraging and was knowledgeable, I feel like in the past, if I had ever talked about that, I would feel weird. I wouldn't feel comfortable or feel like I could trust my therapist.
Well, because that wasn't the norm in
Right.
any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
It's like, what, you're going to still use? You're supposed to be sober. You're supposed to, this recovery thing hadn't even really birthed ahead, but it had.
Right.
It wasn't in every therapist's mind what recovery was. Sobriety was.
Yep.
Abstinence was, and so you got super lucky.
I was, again, everything, but it was also, I was so determined to do it my way. So my stubbornness,
Oh, girl.
I know, that I wasn't going to allow other people to tell me, I have family members that are, why didn't you just blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
My family, my grandfather quit drinking cold turkey. And again, now in his elder years, he's addicted to pain medication.
Yep.
So, again, when we look at well-briety, recovery, rediscovery of ourselves, I feel like it shouldn't be just limited to maybe what you're intaking. It's got to be this whole body, mind, body, spirit, environment approach.
The whole shooting match.
Yep.
The whole thing from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes.
That's right.
Wow. And so you ended up coming to Minnesota Recovery Connection to take the class. You were sort of at a juncture, like where were you leaving and where were you coming? Where was that kind of space?
So I actually hadn't worked in about over 6 months. I was really struggling with my lupus and my fibromyalgia. Because of my charges in 2020, I had a drug charge and I had my DUI. I couldn't find work in my field, and so I turned to moonlighting as an exotic dancer. And when I'm dedicated to something, I'm going to be the best damn whatever. There is. So I actually had a blast. I'm a performer, and for sure.
For sure you're a performer.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
So I had fun with it, but again, it's that culture of, they encourage drink. How many jobs can you have and drink at the same time?
Yeah.
How many jobs are you at and you can easily, find cocaine or whatever.
At whatever you want.
Whatever, literally whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so I was just getting to a point where it was wearing on my mental health, and it was a lucrative situation for a while. And,
no doubt.
Yeah. And then I just kind of got to a point where I'm like, I need to do something else. And I don't feel shame or anything like that. Some people might look at that situation and go, oh my gosh, I could never. And you couldn't.
Right. And you know what I call that is I call that survival.
Exactly.
It's survival. And I'm a survivor too of in just life. I haven't done that particular work, but I've sometimes sold I want to say sold my soul, but what I did is I sold myself and gave myself to other people to my deficit.
Exactly.
And I wore myself out physically, emotionally, and a lot. And it's the same. Survival is survival. And sometimes we go hard into it. I did it for years as well.
Yep.
So.
And, and even if you work at McDonald's, I feel like you are exchanging in one way, shape, or form. It's just that environment in particular can be.
It has a lot of red flags on it all over the place, but it has a lot of greenbacks.
Yes, exactly. Literally. Yeah, it was nice, and like I said, I learned a lot. I learned my worth, my value. I learned how to argue my worth. Yep, and just a lot of the camaraderie and again, the stories that are told about that line of work are so wrong. I have close friends that really came through for me at times. I didn't have outfits or didn't have shoes or didn't have a way to pay for my time there. People just don't understand what that work is like, and it can be a good business too.
Yeah, it's been around for thousands of years. So it's not like it's anything new, but the way our society views anything that is sex-oriented is seen as somehow less than. Yep. But, folks, it's been around longer than probably beer has been around, is trading sex for anything.
Absolutely. And, people who have developmental disabilities would come in. I mean, that could be a whole other show. But it really is, I feel like, a place where people hold space for other people in a very intimate way.
Yeah. So you decided, you took 6 months off. You're like, now what am I going to do? I'm going to investigate.
Yeah. And so then I'm currently in this leadership program with Native Strength Revolution, and we had to choose an elective, a 50-hour elective. And in my last Zoom class, we meet once a year, monthly on Zoom, and then we had our kickoff actually in Sedona this last summer. And so we're graduating next year in Mexico, and our yogi guru was like, all right, you all need to start thinking about what you want to do for your electives. And so I was like, what's out there for recovery? Like, I need something that has like a certification and this is what I found. And then once I started doing research on the trainings, Minnesota Recovery Connection just stood out compared to the other ones.
We are number one.
Well, now I know why, Caddy.
We're the longest running as well. So we kind of we got a couple of toes dipped into the pool there. So good. So you found a Minnesota Recovery Connection. Yep. You took the class.
Applied on the last day.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, you're like,
and that's what's so funny about this story is it was the last day. I wasn't sure if I was going to get in. I got my letters of support. Caddy says, yep, well, they'll send you the Zoom link. We meet on Zoom, and then 2 weeks later, I'm in the class, and then after taking the class, I looked for jobs in my area, couldn't find anything, and I was like, maybe.
And now I'm going to pause her because the rest of the story will happen after the next break. But what I want to point out is that was a really good class. There was a lot of great humans there. There's other great people in there. McKinsey's another one. She's been volunteering a ton. Thank you, McKinsey. You've been amazing. bought pizza yesterday for everybody in the office, mainly because of some of the great people in the office making tons of manuals for me. But what's interesting is that I love everybody in the classes. And then there are some people that have a radiation. They radiate something that is worthy of recognizing. And as we were sort of exploring some things that we're doing at Minnesota Recovery Connection, there's this person that just kept bubbling to my surface who happens to be across the table from me. And I just thought, And then there was a part of you that came out in the class that you had not initially discussed, which is the LGBTQIA plus community that you belong to. And you know what, folks? It is our lived experiences that can make the next thing happen. And that's what we're going to talk about next, because I found the right person for the right job. So we will be back with the Redefining Recovery Revolution. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back in a flash. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm having a delightful conversation with Sabrina, who is a certified peer recovery specialist at Minnesota Recovery Connection. And that is why we are here, because Redefining Recovery, the Recovery Revolution, is the show that you are listening to. And I am Caddy Frink, your host. I have not mentioned this, but I want to make sure Erin Fitzgerald, you have not heard for a couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and she's admittedly still on the introduction, but Erin has gone to a southern location. I'll leave it all up to you. I think she said she was going there, but I don't want to let anything out of the bag, but she is doing marvelous. I miss the bejesus out of her because she was a marvelous co-host, but I just want you to know that Erin is doing great, and I just want to send that out to her if she listens to the show. Sweetheart, I miss you, I love you, and I know you're enjoying your world. So here we are back with Sabrina. So Sabrina took the class at Minnesota Recovery Connection, and I saw this bubbling human in the background. And so you took the class, and what was, you started to sort of like think who, what, where, when.
Yes, I was like, all right, I'm ready to do this work. I need to find somewhere. And so I was pretty proactive, calling all the places in my area in southern Minnesota to see if they had any positions available. Everything was full. And so I started to go into panic mode. And then a little light bulb went off, and I was like, I can maybe just message them at Minnesota Recovery Connection. So I messaged Caddy and Sarah, and they were like, hey, actually, why don't you mosey on up here next week?
And let's have a conversation. And what had happened in that time frame is that there's an organization in town that is no longer existing, and they were supporting the Pride Institute, which is the LGBTQIA plus recovery organization. I'll just call it that. And since they did not have any certified peer recovery specialist, and this little bird, Sabrina, was out there, I thought, maybe we might have a perfect match. And so, like I said, people's lived experience and who they are and who they become in their recovery can unfold in a magic way. And so Sabrina came in, and we had a chat, and we're like talking, and she's getting excited, and we're getting excited, and we're like, and we really don't know what's going to happen yet, but we're just going to go with a leap of faith is what we did.
Yes.
So you came in, and tell a little bit of your story about what you got.
So, I mean, it was just, it all happened very quickly. Mm-hmm. So, it was like October 2nd, I did the 5-day training, and then 2 weeks later I was coming in, for a job, potential job. And then after that, all of you were like, okay, we start people on the 1st and the 15th. So I'm thinking like, it won't be till the 15th. But no, you all were like, get your butt up here. And
let's get this party started.
Which I've been thrilled about, because I have applied and gotten other jobs, but just nothing was sitting with me that was calling to my heart. And so this one was really, When you guys said the Pride Institute, oh my goodness, my little gay heart exploded.
My little gay heart.
Yes, it did. And just the opportunity to directly impact people that are going through this really hard time, going through inpatient and taking those steps, whether it's voluntary or not, I think is essential. And of course, our community is one of, the ones that don't get attention, and we struggle to find support. And let me tell you, they sure are happy that I am at that location now.
Yeah. Well, say a little bit about Pride Institute, as you know, because I think there's probably other people out there who've they've heard Pride before, because there's Pride Month and there's a Pride Parade and there's a Pride this, there's a Pride that. So what is Pride Institute?
The Pride Institute is a 35-bed facility for inpatient. They also have an outpatient program, which has a couple of sober houses. I'm not quite sure how many, but I'm working specifically with the inpatient program. So I'm there weekly, kind of, helping them tie loose ends to the, real world while they're going through this program. And
so I just want to clarify, it helps the LGBTQIA plus community. So that would be gay, lesbian, trans, questioning.
Yeah, questioning. Yep.
Okay.
It's just very inclusive space.
Okay.
And essential. I think essential if you are looking for, I would say it's culturally specific.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think about it from the lens of when we've got somebody who's Native American, sometimes working with somebody who's Native American, or maybe somebody who's Hispanic or Latino, however you identify. Or you're African American, or you're East African, or you're Asian Island Pacific.
Yeah.
There's and then there's a whole bunch of other humans out there that are all kinds of different. And so when we can sometimes work with somebody who gets what the mind process is, or the feeling, or how we have been raised, and so there's all these cultural pieces. And I think what comes to my mind about the LGBTQIA plus community, maybe different from some other cultures, is that when you are talking about somebody's sexual orientation, you are going off the beaten path, and so many people don't understand it, and there is so much stigma. And then when you add substance use on top of that, and maybe some of the activities that people have to do to survive, right? Did I get that kind of correct?
Absolutely. That you hit the nail on all of it. Yeah, absolutely. I think just being able to connect with someone. So, the way you've taught us, how to explain what we do has been really fun to share with people, because sometimes it's unclear what our role is as a peer recovery specialist. And I love to be able to say, I'm your co-pilot, I'm your cheerleader, I'm here to help you figure things out. What you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. And even that in and of itself, people are just, it's almost like, I had someone recently say, thank you for being so nice.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, people, when they're going through that, staff, as much as they try, maybe not, or maybe they don't, to, put on a happy face and be there for these people. It is hard work.
Yeah, it's hard. People that struggle with substance use disorder, we're kind of a motley crew sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And particularly in early, or if you're still withdrawing. I mean, we can kind of be crabby. We can be kind of unpleasant.
Yes. Yeah. But when you foster community, what I really loved about being there was they have a community meeting that the residents lead. And so offering them, leadership roles already in a space where maybe they haven't ever had that.
Yeah.
There were, space for people to air their complaints, and there were a couple, I will definitely say, but it was nice to be in a space where the baseline is respect.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, we're all in here for the same reason, so let's respect each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes that gets complicated.
Right.
But if you have an environment, or you have individuals like yourself that are willing to listen and say, hey, I'm going to let you have your time. I'm going to let you have your moment. When you leave my space with me, you're going to probably have to adhere to some rules or some spaces and some objectives that you might not like. But in here, when I work with you as a certified peer recovery specialist, we get to just be on this ride together. Yeah. And I think that's what gives people a lot of optimism, maybe hope, or just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of not breathing deep when we're in recovery, right?
For simple things.
Yeah.
For simple things. And when you just have someone who sees you as you are and your ickiness and says, like, I still want to help you and see the best for you.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. Yeah. I feel like after I meet with people, it's almost like you can tell a weight has been lifted off of them.
They just feel human again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just share something that Sabrina shared with me when we were in the class that I thought was marvelous. Was that, Caddy, sometimes what we need to do is we have an encounter with someone, and what I have done and what I've learned through my traditions and that is I just go and I wash my hands, and wash your hands, and it just sort of, I think, what did you say? Just sort of cleans off any energy.
Yes. And you can do that in so many different ways.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things. So all of you who might have had a bad day, just go wash your hands and clean it off and just say, it's okay. Sabrina, Mercedes, it has been a delight and a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Caddy. I love chatting with you, and let's do it again.
Let's do it again. So thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. Join in supporting our mission at Minnesota Recovery Connection. A donor, a volunteer, reach out to us at minnesotarecovery.org, and please listen to this show on any listening pleasure that you have.